and we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, I would think that, from just a sheer optics standpoint, that, the first thing that Paul Ryan should do, and I would like to see him out front of these things a little bit more, but you get your butt out on Fox and you say, listen, and you tell that story exactly like you told us, and all of a sudden it's different. All of a sudden it's no longer, oh, well, now I understand.
Well, on two levels. One is that it looks bad that, like you said, the bad optics that, we're trying to get away with something, so we want this ethics. And when you understand that, you say, okay, well, that wasn't really what's going on. The other is, okay, it still looks bad because somebody made the decision to follow through with that because it looks bad. So the decision-making process to go down that path, even though it's a noble path, looks suspect.
Yeah, timing, again,
Yeah, and of course you have to remember that Paul Ryan and the leadership were blindsided by this. Those that were pushing it knew that leadership would push back on this for one reason alone, the optics. It just would not work coming so quickly like that without organizing an effort to explain and educate the people what we were attempting to do, that we weren't even attempting to do away with the OCE. We were attempting to require them to follow due process, that the accuser must meet face-to-face the accusee, and that no public relations press releases would be released until the person was indicted or convicted. And that's what ought to be expected. So Paul was blindsided up until that evening when it was brought before the open body of the members of the House Republican Conference. So to his defense, he wasn't even given the courtesy of being notified beforehand. So that, too, hopefully will remind some of our peoples, Freedom Caucus members and others, that you still got to work as a team or else things blow up and it ends up hurting us all.
Yeah, it all comes down to communication. You had something, Ed?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you made that clear because, quite frankly, and I'm not being critical here, but I know that you swim in waters where it's normal talk. But when you first started explaining this, so-and-so was up, down, sideways, whatever, it all sounded like double negatives. And I understand you understood as you were explaining it to us because you live in that environment. But until you just came out and said, Paul Ryan was opposed to it, yeah. I really wasn't following for a while there. I'm glad you cleared that up.
Well, I'm glad so, too, because, we were talking about two good sides. Paul Ryan is a true conservative, great leader. He's promoting open process and letting the membership drive the agenda. That's why we came up with a Better Way plan, which has the Affordable Care Act repeal and the replacement in it. And then on the other side, we have conservatives like Louis Gohmert, Jim Jordan, and others who wanted to see this onerous, abusive committee with some control on it. And so here are two good sides being blindsided in that way, and ultimately it didn't work. And then Donald Trump, speaking to the issue of ethics, all he knew about it. I mean, we've got to remember, this president doesn't understand fully the process in Washington, and we don't understand fully how he will function, so communications are going to have to be important, because if we communicate well, and next time Paul goes to him and says, listen, President, here's an issue that's going to come up, let me explain it fully what's behind it so you understand that we are still on the same page, and you don't need to tweet out on this one, and we're going to try to do it in a strategically sound way, all going toward the same principle, but doing good strategy in the process. So I'm glad it happened the first day to some degree, because it sure was an ugly outcome that fortunately will be past us and we can go on. And now the commitment has been made by the leadership that by August, the Ethics Committee will come up with the language for the reform for OCE, and we'll pass it hopefully in a bipartisan way, because this has hit some Democrats, especially the African-American caucus, the Black caucus, in a huge way as well. And things have come out very strongly on them that they didn't want to see. So this will be dealt with down the road, but I think this also reminds us as we move through the Affordable Care Act repeal, the replacement of it, that Republicans, conservatives have to stay on the same track by communicating with themselves and understanding the process before we get into unnecessary fights.
Right.
I'm glad you made the distinction. It's not the media of tweeting per se. It's the content of the tweets and the optics. I have friends who, frankly, cringe at some of the stuff that they hear, and yet there's a lot of good tweets that Trump has put out too. So,
sure.
Restraint and appearance.
Yeah, it's a tool that needs to be used widely. Well, Tim, let me ask you. There was a story out even on Fox, and of course it's all over Twitter too, that is there a 5-minute window somewhere that Barack can appoint Merrick Garland to that SCOTUS position before Trump gets into office? Is that just fake news, or is that a real issue? And if so, is Congress or the Senate going to do anything about that?
If there is any means by which he could do it, it would have probably had to take place on the 3rd of January, the moment we were out of office before we were sworn in. That didn't take place. So right now there's a new Congress functioning. We are not adjourned. We are in recess. So there is no ability for him to make recess appointments in that we are out and the session is ended for a period of time.
Okay.
That's not.
All right, so nothing to worry about there. All right, so let me hit. But we got just a few minutes left, Tim. We talk about the repeal of Obamacare. It looks like you guys are going to do it, and hopefully the Senate can somehow get that through as well. Do we have a replacement plan together? I know you guys have worked on it before. The Democrats are always quick to say the Republicans don't have a plan, and I know you guys do, right? But do we have something ready to go?
Yeah, you and I have talked about it multiple times. It's called the Better Way Plan, and it's not only in a document that we take around, but it's actually in a bill form that the soon-to-be, hopefully, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tom Price, was the author of. So he knows about it, and it's something that he can communicate with the President. The President has communicated with Paul Ryan on it. That will be the proposal genesis of the reform that takes place. The Democrats will be coming across the country in these next several weeks. We have Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders, along with Debbie Dingell, Debbie Stabenow, and others who are coming in to Dearborn next week for a rally for health care. And they'll be, specifically Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders, lying about what we're going to do, saying, number one, we're going to make America sicker. They made us sick already. They've increased the cost. They've taken people off health insurance plans. They took us off networks. They made it more expensive for us. And 20 million people that didn't have it, who do have it, still have out-of-pocket expenses that have exorbitantly increased by over 37% this past year.
Right.
That's made America sicker. So
absolutely.
Don't believe the Democrats when they lie about that. We have a plan. We're not going to throw people off. We're going to do it in a responsible fashion, but we will repeal Obamacare.
Okay. Well, Tim, thank you so much for calling in. Let's make sure we do this every month and
Thanks
get you
for
in
your
here.
service.
And hopefully maybe we'll see you at the inauguration.
I hope so. You better show up at my office if you're there.
You got it. Thanks, Tim. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And that's the end of the show, right? Are we still on, Derek?
Yeah, still says on air.
Right, we're still on there. I can't see. I get blinded by the light. All right, go to thedailydrift.com, folks. We'll see you next week.